So good morning, everyone. As always, I am just thrilled that you have decided to take some time and join in this time together where we can share our spiritual community. And I am kind of excited that we're a little bit further afield today with having people call in from different places in the state mostly today. And it just feels good because uh, it is still that two or more gathering together. And here we are. And I just am loving it. So, in case you don't know, I am Reverend Dr. Candace Beckett, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you here today to the Center for Spiritual Living in Ukiah, California, to our virtual service. And what I know is that somewhere in this service, whether it's in the treatment or in the music or in the message, that you will receive the good that you are right now seeking. So go ahead and take that moment to check in and go, what is the good that I am seeking? Because it is on the way. Sit back and just be ready to receive. And today our opening treatment will be given by Gail Rhodes. So Gail?
Good morning, all. Oh, so as we just asked Candace.
Bonnie's there.
Oh, are you here, Bonnie?
Oh, Bonnie, are you here?
Yeah, and I thought I was doing.
It was you, but I didn't see you when I started the service. So
sorry, I had trouble getting my internet going this morning. So
well,
so okay. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. And Bonnie Cameron will be giving our opening treatment today. So Bonnie, take it away.
Take a deep breath, close your eyes if you'd like. And know with me, there is only one life. That's God's life. One divine mind, one creative power, one unconditional love. All God's mind, God's power, God's unconditional love that we are born in and we live in every single day. And that divine mind constantly open to us. We toss our thoughts and ideas into it, and God's creative energy just fills that up and volleys it right back to us in a living, breathing, physical form. I am so grateful for this knowledge, for this understanding, and the intent that I throw into that divine mind today is the clear and certain knowledge that I am enough and that I have enough. There is always enough money, enough resources, enough time for everything that I need, everything that I want. It's all just there. I just have to have an open mind and an open heart and open arms to receive it. I am thankful for all that I am receiving today. I am thankful for clarity of the knowledge of how this all works. And most of all, I am grateful for the love of each other, the love for myself, the love that we share. And that we need to get us through whatever we perceive as difficulties or obstacles. We know that it's all really just there for our learning, our understanding. And I'm grateful for that, for all of you. I'm grateful for my life. I am grateful to be an expression of physicality for God. And we let this all be so. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bonnie. That was perfect. So thank you. So now we're going to have some special music by Calvin Johnson. So Calvin, take it away.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of love.
Thank you. That was just so sweet. Thank you so much. Hey, so now for today's message, I guess. The topic today, I was sharing with some people before we started. I came across a blog which it was written. This particular blog is written by my friend Jim Lockard, and he just posted a couple of days ago, and I just loved it and knew I wanted to share what he had to say with you. So I just really need to give him a lot of credit here because it was like he did all the work. I'm just going to deliver the message. So anyway, today's topic is obstacles to spiritual growth. And I know most of you pretty well, and what I do know that is over the years we have all gone through some tough times, and some of us right now are going through tough times. And I'm calling them tough times, but what I'm starting to realize, thanks to Jim and his wonderful blog, is that that these tough times almost always involve a change, and that often we perceive change as a loss. And it's not that we should just shrug off that feeling of loss, because sometimes those tough times are challenging, they're difficult. So they need to be noted and marked and possibly mourned. But at the same time, somewhere, or at least for me, what it feels like is that behind that uncertainty and even the scariness of those challenging things that come up in our lives, there is also an awareness within me, and I think within most of you, that this too is a part of the path, my path, your path. And in my observation of just, people around me and people in my world, I have discovered that the most well-adjusted and therefore the happiest people that I know accept change with a deep sense of gratitude and even peace, even when it's hard. So what is stopping us from moving through these tough times? So again, Jim's blog was titled "The Biggest Obstacle to Spiritual Growth." And he brought up that there is a question that is fairly common in the New Thought circles. And the question is, what is the biggest obstacle? What is the biggest obstacle to your spiritual growth? And almost always the answer is myself. Well, that is true, that the biggest obstacle to your spiritual growth is you. Myself or yourself is also the answer to the question, what is my biggest asset to seeking spiritual growth? So we need to be a bit more specific when we're answering the question, what is my biggest obstacle towards spiritual growth? And the suggestion in the blog that came up was that the obstacle might better be, or, what is that obstacle might better be answered with the word comfort. That comfort is my biggest obstacle to spiritual growth. Because it is our desire to be comfortable. And I use it in treatment all the time to have something come to me with grace and ease. And so we strive to, once we have some of that grace and ease, we strive to keep it in place, to keep it just like that. And even if we are not happy as we continue to evolve, which we're going to do, whether we're asking for it or not, we are going to continue, that even when those situations where we were in grace and ease and in comfort, as they change, we may be unhappy with the current state of that. And so comfort is often a sense of just doing the minimal amount around something that we're challenged by. And when we face the discomfort of changing, we often will sink into resistance, resistance to change, even though we realize that our growth lies on the other side of our discomfort. So that walking through, go ahead, just keep going, is also really important, but that's not always very comfortable. So I came up with the idea, an example of where we can do a little bit of this self-sabotage is, I just know of people who have joined gyms and the intention was to get fit and healthy, and then they resist going. And I know one person in particular who signed and paid for a year membership and then never once went to the gym. So similarly, we set goals for our spiritual growth. And we will read books, we'll take classes, we'll set a personal daily practice and have those ideas that this is what's going to help me go forward. And then we resist doing the work. It's one thing to read the book, take the class, and it's another thing to actually bring those things into our lives as a practice. So often this will take the form of procrastination, evasion, denial, and we even will make ourselves wrong by doing destructive things that are completely in the other direction of what our initial intention to improve, what was motivating that. So it's really important to look at, what am I doing if I am wanting to expand on myself, and what is stopping me. So I think it is important, because our kind of our ego selves they're gonna that ego self is sort of like, I've used the term, waking the sleeping dragon, because the dragon's gonna raise its head one more time and see if it can, you know, keep you from doing the new thing. And I just think it's important that when our ego self asserts its power, it's usually to keep us from changing. So this resistance comes from the desire for comfort, which we may come from a misbelief that comfort means not being challenged or disturbed. That really got to me this week, that I think of my comfort as being not challenged and not disturbed. When that misbelief is combined with ignorance or fear, which is usually fear that we are inadequate, that we're not good enough to succeed at whatever the idea, the intention was, seeking comfort alone can be especially dangerous to our development. Bottom line, here's the deal. We grow when we are uncomfortable or in the state of divine discontent. And so I've started to look at, where is my discontent? Where am I not feeling quite as fulfilled? And being willing to look at what's holding me there in that place. Our true self, or God self, is very skilled at knowing what is best for us, and it's sending us messages when it's time to change, when it's time to move. Our ego selves, our smaller self, on the other hand, that part of us also is very skilled. It's very skilled in ignoring the messages and staying stuck in a less than optimal way of being. Our ego is supporting that, and it leads us to resist the urges to change, even when there is a deep knowingness that that change is for the better. Question for me came up. So, do I really want to stay where I am in all sorts of places in my life? And there's this great quote. This is from Karen Samuelson, and she says, "If I told you 10 years from now your life would be exactly the same, I doubt that you'd be happy. So why are you afraid of change?" So that's a really good question. Because think about that, because all I had read is, if I told you in 10 years that your life would be exactly the same, I immediately went, oh, no, 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 no. So there may be a fear around change, but more likely that fear is based in discomfort. We are afraid of stepping into the unknown, of having to develop different habit patterns. And I think we're even afraid of losing something that we currently possess, even when that thing isn't really, or that situation isn't really supporting us any longer. So when we ignore or resist that inner urge to move forward in our development, our physical and emotional selves will react. And often what that means is that we will develop illness, deep fatigue. We can become incredibly depressed because we know that those higher urges to move us forward, I don't care what your excuse or the procrastination, when we don't start moving in that direction, it can be very depressing. We can get really distracted and make up a ton of excuses. So all of that, those are all defense mechanisms used by the ego to keep us from changing and from stepping too far out of our comfort zone. So there was this great little poem in the article, and the name of the poem is Extortion, and it's by Tom Greening, and it goes like this. So see if maybe you get a little flicker of, oh yeah, I do that sometimes. I like to whimper, cry, complain, and advertise that I'm in pain. Extorting care and sympathy is what I do quite skillfully when I am gloomy and morose. It's because I seek an ample dose of pity and due compensation for my pathetic, sad condition. If with my wish you won't comply, you'll force me to pretend to die. Well, I was like, oh my gosh, I saw myself in complaint and in whimpering, and knowing that it wasn't for my healing, it was for my agreement to stay stuck right where I was, that people would go, oh, poor Candace, that kind of thing. So instead, I think it's time for me, I know, and maybe some of you can relate to this. I think it really is time to turn and face our own soul and to admit and accept that divine urge to grow, to progress, to deepen our realization of who we are and what is ours to do. This deepening means dealing with great uncertainties and even some loss and maybe even some grief as we let go of what used to work so well. Sometimes there's some sadness and, oh, but now it's time to change. To engage that divine urge and move in a positive direction means working past the limitations of our current belief system. And that current belief system may be urging us to stay in place. In such situations, we are called to extend ourselves with new intention, with greater courage, and with a commitment to a new way of being. We are called to take a leap in faith to something greater. The author Dan Millman wrote, every positive change, every jump to a higher level of energy and awareness involves a rite of passage. Each time we ascend to a higher rung on the ladder of personal evolution, we must go through a period of discomfort of initiation. I have never found an exception. So this comfort, this initiation may be intensely challenging and even painful, but it is by accepting that challenge and enduring that pain that we move out of our stuckness and into greater level of freedom and of self-awareness. Courage and strength are required qualities. So how do we develop courage and strength? We have those tools because this is through affirmative thinking, spiritual mind treatment, meditation, and any kind of positive act that you can do that requires you to take an action. We must accept and deal with the uncertainty of spiritual development if we are to grow. We never really know our interior potential and can only guess at the future. So an intention and a spiritual practice is what's going to help guide us towards what is for our highest good, what is best for us. But it can feel like trying to hit a target in the fog. I read somewhere also this week that spiritual mastery is about accepting uncertainty as the nature of things, while accepting the certainty that spirit exists and is within us always. So we are going to be doing this balance. It's like, yeah, there's uncertainty, but there's also within me this knower, this divine intelligence that is always here and does have the answer, and allowing it to come up more completely as we move through these challenging, difficult times. Eric Fromm said, "There is nothing of which we are more ashamed than of not being ourselves. And there is nothing which brings us greater joy and happiness than to think, feel, and say what is truly ours." So here we are. We're being asked to be who we really are. And I just think that that's really important. It's really important for me to remember right now. And I know that it's important for you. So whatever your current circumstances, no matter what your current situation is, you have within you a power to change, to heal, to recover, to express, to engage on greater and greater levels. All significant growth or deepening will be accompanied by a level of uncertainty. But again, we are set to allow great change to come in. And then there is the choice of, and what level of resistance might there be? Is there going to be some inner resistance? But accepting that the key is we do have the ability to change. We do have the ability to grow in amazing ways. Then let's move forward. There is also just this little, it's 3 routes to healing. And so number 1, you must let the pain visit. Number 2, you must allow the pain to teach you. And number 3, you must not allow the pain to overstay. So I think that's just where we are. And it's time to take a look and look deeply and move as easily as we can into a place where we go ahead and see the obstacles and also become aware that what there is within us that can move us through and beyond. And those obstacles themselves are often our great teachers. So I want to end today with another passage. This is by James Kitchens, and it just speaks to me. Most of us go through each day looking for what we saw yesterday, and not surprisingly, that is what we find. Most of us expect the same or worse, and we are not frequently disappointed. But what would happen if we started to expect surprise? What if we remove the blinders that allow us to see only more of the negative things we have come to expect in life? What if we started to look for the ordinary magic? Would we be disappointed? What would happen to us if we really fell in love with life? How would our lives change if we really thought, as Thoreau encouraged, that reality is fabulous? What if we took his advice and steadily observed reality only? Would our lives really be like a fairy tale, as he suggests? What if we started to look for the grand things that life would bring us each day? Would we be fools of whom other people take advantage? Or would we find that life is exciting, joyful, and wonderful. So take a deep breath. And as we go into that quiet place of knowing the truth, know that I will be giving this treatment in the first person. And so when you hear the word I, recognize it as the I within yourself, knowing your greatest truth. God is all there is. One source, one supply, one energy, one universal mind, one life, one. Wherever I look, I see God. God is in the flower, in the grain of sand, in the tree, in my beloved, and in the stranger. All is God and all is good. We all spring from the same source and supply. And we recognize that no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances, it is God. Whatever I perceive, Spirit is, even in the midst of great change. I know beauty and growth flows through it all, myself included. So all change becomes the potential for greater and greater good. I speak my word now on behalf of anyone who is hearing these words on this day, every day, the first day of our great evolution. I accept good news that this, whatever this may be, also moves me forward. I know we are expanding beyond any previously held idea, and we are awakening to our own spiritual magnificence as we also awaken to the spiritual magnificence of all beings, all circumstances, all situations, right here and right now. And also know that the best is yet to come. So, in giving great thanks, I release these words and this idea into the law, knowing that it does what it does in love. And so I know that it is all coming into fruition in this moment, right here, right now. And so as I totally allow this to be so, I feel the deep gratitude and say, and so it is. So another deep breath. So now we've come to the point in our service where we're going to be doing our offering. And I just want to, again, remind you how important it is that this continued support of our center continues. So I appreciate everyone as you bless and share in your abundance with the center, knowing that there are great things yet to come for us, greater and greater still. So, okay, I'm going to put up the offering affirmation. And so please stay with me now. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know that I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and vision we share. So it is. Okay, so I do have a couple of announcements. And first, we are continuing to support Building Bridges. And so Teresa is still willing to, help you out with that. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of her. And you can also drop things off at Teresa's, and she'll make sure that it gets down to the facility. You can also drop things off at Trudy Morgan's on her porch, and her address is in the newsletter, so you can find that. And you can also just go to the center yourself, have the stuff in your car, call in, and they'll come out and unload it for you. So pretty easy. So that continues. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Kit Holmes. I talked to you last week. Now, Kit is a licensed practitioner in CSL, but she's also in her last few months of ministerial training. And so she's fulfilling practicum, so a requirement for her graduation. And that is to support another center. And so we're the center that she's supporting. And what she's doing is she has gotten a hold of the deans of all of the schools and is compiling a list of other, also in their last year of ministerial training, a list. And they're going to start speaking for us. So we have set as our first guest speaker, we're hoping, it could be sooner, but we kind of set that March 28th, we would have a guest speaker. And I've told her like every other week or a couple times a month, but right this second, I don't know how many people she's going to get on this list. The cool thing is, like, she's only going to be doing this for us for a couple of months because she graduates in May, and that will be the end of the practicum. But in the meantime, she will compile the list and do the scheduling. But when she's leaving, she will provide us with that list. So we can continue to schedule guest speakers, and maybe we'll just find that perfect match. And so there's potential here for actually discovering the new senior minister for the Achaia Center. So let's look at that. And if you see that there's a guest speaker, please be sure to come and listen and see what they have to say. And that will always be in the newsletter. There's also you can always go to the Facebook page, because I always list the upcoming week's service, and I would say who the practitioner, who the soloist, and who's speaking. So be sure to there's a couple of places where you can go and check that out. All right. So the other thing is pretty small, but just thought you should know, next week we have a time change. So we're going to spring forward. So the good news is you get an extra hour of sleep if you want that. And but we'll be here, but it'll actually be an hour later than right now. But you get it. You've all been through time changes before. So anyway, that's that. So I will hand it over to Calvin for a closing song. So Calvin, take it away.
Thank you. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, we are the heart, we are the hands. I am the heart, I am the hands, I'm a blessing to the world.
Thank you, Calvin. Just beautiful and wonderful as always. And you are all a blessing to the world. So thank you all for being here today. Know that I love you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Namaste.